Hi, welcome to Monster Peace Theater. I am your host, Alistair Cookie. Tonight we will be talking about, it's Super Awesome Film Club. I am your host, Adelaide Blair. Our panel tonight is my partner in crime, Blair-Freese. Wait, hi, Aya. Aya, you have to say something so that the camera will focus on you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, turns out when only two people are on the show, it only shows one person at a time instead of the little bars down below that have all the people faces.
Well, I apologize that you guys can't watch me make funny faces at my mom the entire time she talks.
Which she does, by the way, in case you were wondering. So we are on the last of our series about mothers and daughters, and the movie tonight is Gypsy from 1962. It's directed by Mervyn LeRoy. It stars Rosalind Russell as Rose Hovick, Natalie Wood as Louise Hovick, and Carl Malden as Herbie Summers. Okay, I am going to give you the plot of our story tonight.
And a lot of spoilers.
Oh yeah, we're going to spoil the hell out of this one. Okay, so there's this lady, her name is Rose. She's a single mom. She's got two kids, June and Louise, and June is very talented, and she creates a vaudeville act around her daughter. And June's doing this for two reasons. One is they got to make money. She's a single mom. But also she kind of feels as though life was more than she's getting, and she really wants to seize it by the throat and get as much as she can out of it. So they go on to vaudeville, and they primarily use June, who is the more talented of the two sisters. Louise is really nice, but she's not got a lot in the talent department. And they build a show around June, involving June and a bunch of boys dancing and singing. As June gets older, vaudeville sort of gets more and more in decline, and June decides that she wants more than traveling on the circuit. And so at age 13, she gets married and runs away because that was legal where they were. And so Rose decides that she's going to focus on Louise, and Louise is, she'll go along with it. She's not particularly talented in the ways that Rose wishes she would, but they get a bunch of girls and dye them all blonde. And they go camping in the desert. And Rose has a boyfriend. So all of this sounds kind of boring so far, but it's a musical. So it's the first half of the movie is just sort of setting up everybody's character and temperaments and about Rose's struggle to be successful in all those families. She's got a boyfriend, Herbie, who's a really nice guy. She doesn't really want to commit to him because she's in the theater.
She's been married 3 times.
Yeah, plus she's been married 3 times, so she's kind of gone down that road. And she's been abandoned a lot by dudes, which, considering her personality, is not entirely surprising since she likes it her way. She manages to create an act around Louise, and Herbie books them into a theater, and it turns out that it's a burlesque theater, and they are the act that is on the boards in order to prevent the police from shutting the place down. So at a certain point, when Herbie proposes to her and she accepts after the show is going to be over, but she gets an opportunity, or rather Louise gets an opportunity to go on stage at first in a speaking role, and then later as a stripper or as a burlesque dancer. As far as I can tell, they're not going full nude, or even booby nude, but I'm not entirely sure what actually happened, because this is a very sanitized look at stripping, or burly cue, as you will. And so Louise decides to go on stage to make Mother happy, because Rose is like, yes, we got to do this. You're going to go out a star, because she's going to retire and they're going to live a normal, happy life. Herbie has a stroke, and he's like, Rose, if you do this, I'm leaving, because you do not want to turn your daughter into a stripper. But Rose really wants Louise to go out in style with top billing, And so Louise, who pretty much just goes along with everything because that seems to be what her nature is, goes out and becomes a burlesque dancer and eventually becomes the famous Gypsy Rose Lee, because this is in fact based on her memoirs. And then she becomes a huge burlesque star and tries to get out from under her mother's thumb, but the film leaves that somewhat ambiguously because they just can't quite quit each other. That's all I have to say. Yeah, so there's a lot of musical numbers. It's pretty flashy. Rosalind Russell is wonderful. Aya, what did you think of this movie?
I've seen this movie more than a few times, thanks to my overbearing mother, you. Just kidding on the overbearing part. However, I love this film. It's a lot of fun. Watching it now as an adult, I've noticed a lot of kind of the more meta aspects of this movie. It's a movie by show people about show people, which I think is incredibly funny because there are a couple of just quite obvious nods to theater, like the matte paintings in the background of like the train scene and when they're camping in the desert scene. Like those are very, very beautiful, but they're also not trying to hide the fact that they're these, beautiful matte paintings in the background.
Yeah, they're not making any effort for realism here.
No, and that's part of the fun of it. I believe that this is based off of an actual musical that was probably on Broadway, but like an adaptation, and they put that all kind of like in front of you, by putting all these nods to the ways of show people. And of course it gets me thinking, watching the movie, when they have the little girl who plays June when she's baby June, and I'm thinking like, what kind of show mother does she have? Because all these people are real show people, so you start to think about their background a little bit. So that's a really interesting new take that I had on the film watching it this time. It's also funny how it seems that the musical numbers progress in their grandeur. So at the beginning, they're just singing like whatever they're doing, and it's mostly Rose, and she's just singing whatever she's doing to whoever she's talking to. But then they do the numbers more and more on stage numbers, and they get bigger, and there's more music behind them, and there's a little less direction. Like in the middle of the movie, she starts to give direction. She's like, and then there's horns, and then there's this, and that gets more and more integrated into the actual film itself, where they're actually just performers at the end, performing on stage, and it becomes more of a grand performance than it is at the beginning, when they're kind of just fumbling around getting their steps in show business. And I think that that's a really interesting way that they play through the theme throughout the film. Rose herself is totally nutty. However, like, you feel very sympathetic for Rose kind of at the end of the film. There are two things in particular. Her relationship with Herbie. Like, they do a whole number where she's like, I like to travel and you like to travel. And then he spends the rest of the film trying to get her to settle down. And he's a great guy, and he has really good intentions, and he is also a great, potential stepfather to the kids. But Rose likes to travel, and Rose likes to be in show business. And I don't think that he's doing himself any good by trying to tame a wild horse, if you will. So I feel a little sympathetic for her in that regard. But also at the end, the ending scene is Gypsy and Madame Rose singing, hanging out on stage together and laughing. And the daughter turns to her mom and says, well, the reason that you weren't successful is because you never had somebody like you to push yourself. And you think like, wow, I mean, she is the most successful burlesque star. Would she have really gotten that far if it weren't for her insane mother that pushed her into this career and made her what she is? And it's kind of funny, is it right to push your children to be great? If they end up great, I mean, you were very successful. But also, I think that she should have been a mechanic, the daughter.
Oh, yeah.
He was obviously like born to be a mechanic.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
So I like this movie, but I don't love it. I think it's too long. I think what works on stage for a big Broadway musical doesn't necessarily work within the confines of a movie. And most of my issues are with the first half, because I think there's too many musical numbers. Like the Mr. Goldstone, it's just like, just set these people up so we can get on with the second half, because the second half is where all the meat is. So I just think it's too long. I think Rosalind Russell is amazing in this role. She gives she gives Rose so much depth. You know, she is a crazy, overbearing mom, but she wants so much for her girls and for herself and for her family that she just can't stop with the plans. I think Carl Malden is great as Herbie, but I always think Carl Malden is great in just about anything he does. I'm kind of torn on Natalie Wood on this one. I like it when she plays the younger Louise, but once she gets older and she's just so blank to me, you know, and just sort of, I hesitate to say that Natalie Wood is wooden, but, you know, the jokes are there to be made. I don't think they necessarily have to make them. But I find the second half of the movie, the pace picks up a lot for me. The musical numbers, like you say, are more lavish, and I think they're better, and they're more on point. Let's see. I think Mazeppa and her, when Mazeppa, Electra, I think, and Tessitura do their number where they explain the gimmicks that they have, that is one of my favorite scenes in any musical ever. And Mazeppa is amazing. I love her. Yeah, just her voice, just everything about that performance. I have kept that with me since I was a child. Just like when I think of great musical scenes, I think that scene in particular, Mazeppa. I think it's interesting that June just gets written out completely. So June became June Havoc, who was, she had a pretty kind of a B movie career, and then went on to do a lot of TV, including some guest appearances on the best TV show of all time, Murder, She Wrote, starring Liz and Angela Lansbury. Are you going to cross me on this one?
No,
Okay.
I'm not going to cross you. I'm just going to laugh at you.
Whatever, because I can find you and just show you what's what. It's the best TV show ever made. So.
All right.
Okay, anyway. So, you know, I just find it interesting that she starts out, you know, she has an interesting story, but of course it's Gypsy Rose Lee's story. And she and Gypsy were somewhat estranged because she didn't like the portrayal of her in this movie. Which I don't really get, because it's not like June's portrayed as this horrible person. She's just sort of this overachieving, super talented person. So I don't know what their deal was. But, you know, for me, the core of the movie is Rose. And, you know, I think this is one of my two favorite Rosalind Russell performances. The first favorite, of course, being Auntie Mame. And she didn't sing most of her stuff in this. That's somebody else's voice. I didn't write down the name. But I think she could have carried it off. She might not have been have such dulcet tones, but I think she could have added to it. But I understand why they overdubbed it. But, you know, it's interesting. So out of the 4 movies that we watched, I keep identifying more and more with the mothers, no matter how freaking crazy they are. Okay, make your comment so that people can hear it.
Oh, great.
Well, I mean, I know they're nuts, but I think as I get older, and you know, it's different being the mother of a younger child than it is an adult child. And it's different, you know, a lot of stuff that I may or may not have done when I was younger, I would never do that. But I can definitely feel compassion for mothers who are struggling, like all of the mothers in all of the movies that we've seen. Because we've seen Mildred Pierce, Mommy Dearest, Terms of Endearment, and Gypsy. Like all of those moms, you know, they're trying to support a family. They're trying to keep things going. And maybe they don't make the most rational decision, like trying to cover up their daughter's murder that she committed, or trying to control what kind of hangers enter the household, you know, normal stuff. But I just kind of feel more sympathy for them. I think I did when I watched these when I was younger, and I definitely feel more sympathy for Rose. When I watched it when I was your age, I focused on the Natalie Wood character, and that's where I'm like, this mom is crazy. And now when I watch it, I'm like, oh my God, that poor woman trying to, you know, she trying to break the confines of what society says she can do, and you know, she doesn't want to go to Seattle and live with her dad and, you know, not travel. I mean, I feel for her. She's a nutbag, but I understand what she's doing. Any last comments?
I do have one point of contention with this movie. They misrepresent the Seattle Elks Lodge number. It is Seattle Elks number 92 is the local Elks chapter here in Seattle. Just going to put that out there.
Well, there's more than one Elks chapter.
Yeah, I also cross-checked with the Ballard number, and it's not the Ballard number either, or the South Seattle. So, just going to say somebody didn't do their research.
Okay. I can accept your judgment, and I can back you up that that is in fact incorrect. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us for our 40th episode. We're going to take some time off, and then we will be back talking about more films. And hopefully we'll have some more guests, and let us know what you think. Okay. Watch the skies, everybody.